What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. DTM here. We have some crazy news today, but first, Joe Staten started this blog post from 343 and talked about how he was incorporated into the original Bungie team that created Halo. He worked on CE, 2, 3, ODST, and Reach, and he talks about how he created all of these stories because he loved Halo, and then he went on the sidelines, so to speak, when 343 took over Halo and watched as they created Halo and moved forward. He is now back at 343, and he's leading the campaign team at Halo Infinite, and he has now announced that Halo Infinite has been delayed to fall 2021. Obviously, we already knew the game was delayed to 2021 in general, so we didn't have an exact time frame. So really, it wasn't delayed again. It's getting a more specific time frame of fall 2021 now. But the reason why this is exciting is pretty much detailed as you go through this blog post that they have created. And this is their end of the year update that they were promising fans for a while now. And it has a lot to unpack. So this will not be a short video by any means. So just be prepared. This is going to be going on for quite a while here. So bear with me here. We have a lot to talk about. So Joe's opening statements were very exciting, and I love everything he said in there about, the reasons why Halo Infinite needed to be delayed. They needed more time. That's the thing. That at the end of the day, Halo Infinite needed more time. COVID, whatever you want to blame for the reasoning of why they needed more time, they simply needed more time. Let's credit Microsoft for actually giving them the time they need. Phil Spencer has actually given them a year extra of time. The game was supposed to launch fall 2020 alongside the new consoles, and they're giving them a whole nother year. That doesn't happen much in this industry, like at all, especially from big publishers like Microsoft. So have to give them credit for that. And we have to start analyzing this and saying 343 knows what they're doing. Like, they know the game was not in a state that it needed to be in when it was shown in July at the campaign demo. They said as much many times when people were questioning and saying, man, this doesn't look good. This is awful. This looks trash. Look at Craig, all this crap. It's like, yes, the game is not finished. The game is still a long way to go. And at the time, it was still 6 months away, but now you have a whole nother year. So people need to chill and let them create the game that they want to make. And as long as Microsoft gives them the time to make the game they want to make and get it fully fledged, which obviously they're giving them the time here, it is going to be a freaking great game. And I've said it for so long, and I continue, and no one can convince me otherwise. I continue to believe that Halo Infinite is 343's Halo 3. You can mark my words. I don't care. Fall 2021, at me, at DanIsDTM on Twitter. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to be, because it is their love letter to Halo. Halo 3 was Bungie's love letter to Halo. Yes, Halo Reach was their final game, and they put a lot of love letter stuff into that, but Halo 3 was the greatest video game of all time, and it was because Bungie put in the passion, the work, and the effort into that game. It just completed itself so well, and this franchise means so much to so many people, more than anyone could ever imagine that don't understand video games or Halo in general. So yeah, we're going to kind of dive into some of that as we go along here. But the first thing that they talked about, so the art and graphics, obviously at their E3 demo in July, when they showed off Halo Infinite for the first time, there was a lot of backlash in terms of graphical fidelity and what the game looked like in terms of detail. And yes, the game was not finished. And 343 said multiple times after that demo was shown that they were not finished. And they even, when the game was still coming in fall 2020, They even said, yeah, ray tracing is not coming at launch. It'll be there 2021 in an update because the game wasn't going to be ready. It's just that was the fact of the matter. And again, blame whatever you want, but it just wasn't ready. So I thought it was super interesting. They kind of talked about different challenges and what they kind of saw the biggest concerns coming out of the campaign demo, and kind of what the fans were saying about it, and kind of what they were thinking. So essentially, what they said about the demo and the team's perspective, they said the primary goal for the campaign demo in July was showing Halo Infinite gameplay for the first time. While that aspect generally landed as we wanted, the reality is that the art and visuals weren't at the bar we hold for Halo, even in a work-in-progress state. Much of the feedback we heard from the community aligned with our own views and work we were already committed to doing around things like indirect lighting, material response, foliage and tree rendering, clouds, level of detail transitions, and character fidelity. But still, they say the feedback was humbling, and it pushed us to look at additional opportunities for improvement. So that's the key things. They're talking about all these things that were impacted, and yes, they know that demo was not intended to be a graphical showpiece. That demo was intended to show gameplay, because the hardcore Halo fans like myself were dying to see something on the game, and the game was still set to launch this fall 2020 at that time. So we were questioning why we hadn't seen anything. And that was the main thing about that gameplay demo. It was about the gameplay. It wasn't about the graphics, because they knew the graphics were not in a state that they would be happy with showing, but they had to show something at that time. So I thought that was very interesting as well. I don't know. They talk a lot about, DNA of what Halo is, but the art style is phenomenal. What they did with Infinite's art style is amazing, going back to the roots. They talked about things like adding different scratches and adding more just detail to the armor, to the environments that they didn't really have in that campaign demo as well. So I thought that was very important. A lot of people say, there's so many different things that go into game development, but it's like, if you don't work in game development, you don't necessarily see those things. You just see the final product, and you're like, man, this is such an easy thing to do. Well, it's not easy. It's not easy. These people are behind the scenes working tirelessly trying to get this done. So it's very refreshing to see them talk openly about this. So speaking of improvements on the art and content side, one big outcome from our demo was the emergence of the now world-renowned Craig. So Craig was the brute that Master Chief had meleeed, and somebody freeze framed after Master Chief meleeed him, and showed that Craig was very very lifeless, so to speak, for a brute. He didn't have much detail. The facial animation looked a little weird. He didn't have unique facial features like hair or anything like that made him stand out. So they kind of talk about that in here as well. And actually they say here, firstly, I can confirm that the facial animation on NPCs, including Craig, was not fully implemented in that build, which resulted in Craig's incredibly deadpan and lifeless look. All characters are modeled in a neutral pose prior to blend shapes and animation being applied. So poor old Craig was never intended to be seen in that condition, which is not something that was evident during the gameplay. It was only later in the close-up freeze frame of his one bad moment where it came to light and the legend of Craig was born. So essentially, that gives you a really good idea of why that ended up happening. Yes, when you're freeze framing something, it's going to actually look worse than something like a screenshot or something like that, because you have motion in the video. You don't have professional capturing software that is going to stop at a specific frame in the game. That's what theater's for and stuff like that, and more of that kind of stuff. But the more important thing here is, as well, they're doing more work on the brutes as well. So they've also gone on to say there's been further work done on the material fidelity and more variety added for brute faces. We're also working to add some hairdos and beards, which was something we hadn't gotten to in July. So whilst we have come to love our dear old Craig, not Greg, he's certainly undergoing a significant makeover. He said also, Craig isn't the only model to see improvements, though. There have been significant changes to other characters and 3D models as we continue to evolve and polish our content, and some of which can be seen in the Spartan and weapon renderers that they shared today, which I'll show a few of those on the screen as well as we kind of do this. But they have renders of a multiplayer map for the first time, and multiplayer Spartans in-game, which is amazing. It looks so good, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And they also have some weapons that they have rendered as well, which look incredible. So, the important thing out of all of that was, like, the brutes are going to look like they did in Halo 2 again, which I absolutely love. All of the different hair, and you have Tartarus, who had all, like, the white fur and was very white, and then you had the other brutes that had different facial hair and facial features, and you could tell age based on certain things. So there's so many things that they're adding that remind me of the greatest aspects of the original trilogy. Like, I love that they're adding those things in to make it more polished. I know a lot of people gave them crap for Ascarum, who is the brute that appeared at the end of the gameplay trailer, campaign gameplay trailer at E3. Well, not E3, but whatever. I've been saying E3, but whatever replaced E3. And people were giving crap about Ascarum, who didn't look particularly great. I thought he looked all right, but I'm sure they'll continue to work on characters like that as well, that are featured prominently in the campaign, and give them more uniqueness, as well as increasing their detail in their facial tones and skin and textures and all of that as well, which is very exciting. But let's talk briefly about this multiplayer map image, because my goodness, they gave us 2 multiplayer map images, and it looks just absolutely stunning. And this isn't like concept art. This is actual in-game renders. It's work in progress, obviously. So it doesn't necessarily indicate what it's going to actually look like, but it just looks so good. I mean, the God rays coming in from the ceiling in the one shot, and then you have just detail everywhere. The floor is getting reflections. I'm assuming it'll be ray traced reflections. The attention to detail is so good there. It looks so pretty. And in the other screenshot, you get a really good look at armor customization with 2 different Spartans with different armor pieces. And they've said numerous times, we'll talk about that in here in a few, but they've said numerous times, if you like Halo Reach level customization, you will like Halo Infinite. So they do confirm some of that here in a little bit. I'll get to that here shortly, but I'm very excited after seeing these first couple images of multiplayer. It just looks so good. And the triumphant return of the Splinter rocket launcher, which is such a beloved design. It looks so good in Infinite. Like, this render looks so good, especially after Halo 5. They went the route of making a really generic looking rocket launcher that replaced the design of the Splinter, and people were like, what? Why did you do that, 343? It had a very iconic design, and you just made it a generic rocket launcher. But now it is back looking as beautiful as always, and the detail, there's just so much detail on the weapons, the armor, everything. It looks so good. They also showed off the new sniper rifle as well for Halo Infinite, which does give off some Halo 2 Anniversary and Halo 4 vibes, which I'm loving. I love that, like, oh, crisp. Oh, and I can literally hear the sniper being shot right now just looking at this. It looks so good. Oh, so very excited for all of that. But they do go in to talk about how, traditional spaces, basically like interior spaces versus exterior spaces, and how they differ. I definitely encourage you to go visit 343's blog post and read all of this for yourself. I'm not going to be able to cover every single thing in here. There's just so much. But they talk about modeling and texturing and lighting and all of these things involved in how they're different in interior and exterior spaces, and how they're crucial for multiplayer maps, for instance, for making sure that layout and sightlines and player navigation are pillars, and obviously weapon pickups and stuff like that comes a little later down the line with game design. Very, very exciting stuff there. Yeah, so much good stuff. But anyways, that kind of rounds out that aspect of it from the blog posts. Art and graphics, essentially. The game it looks so much better than what it looked even 6 months ago. And if the fact that they just did that in 6 months, they still have another year now to add on to that. Like, that is very exciting for me. And they've already announced a ton of partners that they've outsourced for help on Infinite. So they have so many hands on it that it's going to be good. It's going to be polished. It is going to be polished, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. But anyways, let's move on. The next thing that they talked about was kind of their live team and customization. So essentially what the live team is in charge of is they're in charge of like achievements and challenges and rewards, and obviously customization, like your armor, your armor coatings, and your weapon skins, and your vehicle coatings, and all of that stuff. So I thought they had some interesting things to say there as well. But I do think it's absolutely stunning how they're combining all of the best aspects of all of the Halo games into one. Yes, and that's a difficult decision that I'm about to go into. Yes, they did drop traditional primary and secondary colors. So that was always a staple in Halo throughout the years. But here's the thing. I don't think it matters that much that they're dropping primary and secondary colors, because the armor coatings have such a different layer to them. They have different materials they can use, different textures, different color combinations, different scratches, different, wears. Like, there's so many things that 343 can do with coatings that makes it so much more exciting. And they actually gave us some renders of those as well, which shows multiplayer Spartans that are getting all kinds of customization options being shown on display here. They're showing not only scratches on the armor and scuff marks, but they're showing different color combos. They show the Scorpion Punch armor coating, it looks interesting. And that's the biggest thing about armor coatings. There's so many things they can do. And actually, they said that armor coatings actually became a thing because at the end of Halo 5's development for Halo Infinite, because there was so much backlash about how large Halo 5 was, that this actually saved them file size as well for creating new weapon skins and stuff like that. That before, to make weapon skins, it was so much harder, and it caused the game files to increase significantly because you're creating custom skins for each weapon that comes out. So this is kind of more streamlined, where they can just add different coatings, different materials, different colors, different, they have this pool to choose from, and then they use kind of the mix and mash type of thing to try to figure out what kind of coating they want to do that makes it look really cool. And there's so much. They also went in to say that there's so much more variety with armor coatings as well, that you see far more customization combinations than you could ever seen in Halo multiplayer in the past, with just primary and secondary colors and even tertiary colors. So I still think that's perfectly fine. I know there's some people that are just dead set on primary, secondary. I'm not one of those people. I think there's going to be plenty of options for people on day one. They also said that they're still nailing down how many weapon skins and how many armor skins they have available day one at launch, and how many will be available to unlock, etc., etc. But obviously, with the game being free to play, they're going to have some premium stuff in there as well. There's going to be premium skins at some point coming. You have to. With a free-to-play multiplayer, you have to do that. And I'm perfectly fine with that. It's all cosmetic. It's perfectly fine. It's not like Halo 5 had rec packs where you're essentially buying to win in Warzone. And that's not what this is. This is something that is 100% cosmetic. You don't have to buy it. It's not like you're forced to buy it. So don't act like you're forced to buy it, people in the Halo community. And I think they will give you a great wide breadth of options to choose from at launch, and as well as unlocking down the line as well. You'll have things to play for in a Battle Pass-esque system, kind of like what Master Chief Collection is doing now. So I don't think much of that is going to change in that regard, despite what people were saying. But I think over time people will kind of warm up to the idea. But anyways, what else were they talking about? Allow player expression. We want everyone to build their dream Spartan. We're always looking for more ways to customize in-game personas and give player options. My team knows that our long-term players have favorites that they love and may have for 2 decades. We want to make sure that Halo Infinite players will be able to get their old favorites as well as find new favorites at launch as we expand over the months post-launch. Much like MCC, I want to bring everything to Infinite eventually, which that right there just shows you everything you need to know. Any armor or anything that you loved about every previous Halo game, I think essentially he's saying there, we want to bring that into the game at some point. There's going to be a lot of stuff day one, but they're going to have a lot of stuff down the pipeline as well, and continuous updates down the line. Remember, Halo Infinite is a 10-year plan. It is going to be a 10-year game, so that is a long time for us to kind of see it evolve over time. So a lot of stuff there to be excited about. And they did also reveal the exclusive armor coding / weapon coding for hitting SR 152, which is max rank in Halo 5. Is pretty slick looking white, black, and red armor with black and red weapon skin, which looks really good. It looks really sharp. Thing is, getting SR 152 in Halo 5 is no small task. So the fact that they're doing this is awesome. I saw some people complaining about saying, "Oh, I don't have the time to play this to get to 150." Well, okay, that's fine, but this isn't for you then. Like, this is for the people that spent so much time in Halo 5 and just supported that game so much. I love Halo 5, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love it. But I only hit like SR 154, 145, because it takes so much XP at the end there. I played for so long, every single day, but it gets to be a certain point after like a year and a half, 2 years, I just didn't play as much anymore. So, I probably won't get that because that's a lot of experience points to get up to 152. Surprisingly enough, from 145 to 152 takes like, I don't know, 10 times the amount of XP from 1 to 145. So that just gives you an idea of how insanely much XP it takes to get to that. And it's well earned for people to get this weapon coding and armor coding. So I'm not upset about that at all. I think that's absolutely phenomenal that they're doing that. But I don't know. And essentially they said for Halo Infinite, they didn't feel like flat colors and a singular pattern were good enough. So that's why they wanted to do the coding system, which allows them to define color, wear and tear, patterns, and materials on a region by region basis. So they can do it for specific spots on the armor, not even all encompassing like previous Halo games have always been. So this is specific armor pieces, which makes it even more exciting. And they kind of they said it was a tough decision to move away from traditional primary and secondary colors, but it was made with the thinking that this is the foundation for greater detail and greater future customization. There's just so many more options, and I think people will eventually understand that when they actually get their hands on it, but it's an exciting system. I'm excited about. They showed off quite a few new armor coatings, which I will show as well on the screen. Splinter Desert armor coating, which has like a green visor with some bullets on his little on his like calf or I'm sorry, his thigh. Kind of like the Halo Reach. Forget what they called that. The Halo Reach had an item that you could put on your thigh right there, and that was kind of a cool little flare. So they kind of have that back. There's just so much customization here. It's just so good to see. And they did say, talking specifically about Reach customization being in Halo Infinite. So they said, to me, Reach customization is both the options, helmet attachment, left shoulder pad, right shoulder pad, etc., as well as the number of individual assets. So the amount of items that are actually in those items. So I don't know. It's very, very exciting. And they also talked about how visor color is something they wanted to do as well that Reach didn't really have that much, and they do tease a little bit and say, I have always loved visors, and we have a surprise to show soon. Very cagey, but very cool. They obviously want to save surprises. The game is still a year away. They don't want to throw all their eggs in one basket all at one time, because that would be dumb. They wouldn't even, that would be very dumb, because no one would be asking questions, and then, I don't know, what fun is that? Your game has to have questions. So, all of that, very exciting, which kind of leads me into the final thing, which is Joe's closing remarks. So, Joe Staten came back. Brian Gerard, community manager, wrote all the rest of that stuff. This is Joe Staten coming back at the end to kind of close it all out. And he says, I'm fortunate to have worked with incredibly talented teams my whole career. The Infinite team is no exception. Folks here don't just understand Halo, they love the core gameplay and characters and community. Everything that makes Halo, Halo, just as much as I do. And like me, they also feel a deep responsibility to serve. We aren't making this game for us, we're making it for you. Starting with this update, we're going to be sharing more about what we're doing, and most importantly, why we're doing it. So here are a few things I'd like to share. This is the part that gets me excited, this next part. My first week on the job, I played the entire Infinite campaign twice. I was, in a word, stunned in the best possible way by what the team had done. Infinite is, by far, the most expansive and vertical Halo world ever. Why did the team do this? Because they understand that wonder and freedom are key to the Halo experience. I could feel the classic Halo 30 seconds of fun beating at the heart of Infinite's world, but I had never felt more powerful, more mobile, more in command of a rich set of tactical choices. This was the Halo we imagined back in 2000, finally come to life after 20 years of technical and creative innovation. Sure, there were bugs in the build and clearly more work to do, but this concept art by Martin Deschambault, one of many pieces he's made for the game, encapsulates all the excitement and curiosity and joy I felt on my first journey through Zeta Halo, the most mysterious, dangerous, and possibility-rich place in the entire Halo universe. Everywhere I looked, I saw choices. And then he goes on to say, like, do I do this? Do I do this? But then he says, truly, Halo Infinite is a world in which I love spending time and what I'm thrilled to return to, both as a designer and a player. On behalf of the entire team, thank you for your passion and your patience. We can't wait for you to join us on this Halo Infinite adventure. First, with insider flighting later next year, and then when we ship in fall 2021. Right there, that's an interesting one as well. Insider flighting officially confirmed coming back next year. So Master Chief Collection did a bunch of insider testing for each of the Halo games on PC, as well as other testing when they essentially relaunched MCC. So it's exciting to know that probably, I would guess, next summer we will have insider flighting for Halo Infinite. So we'll actually get our hands on Halo Infinite, not the full game, but we will have some kind of insider flight, I believe, by next summer. Very excited. Sometimes people just don't get it. That Halo means more to me than most people realize, because it's something so close to my heart that I love it. It's such a phenomenal experience, and it's something that I don't speak lightly about it being delayed to 2021, but it's so gratifying to have a developer that actually cares and take the time to make Halo Infinite the game it needs to be. And I love Halo. I've loved Halo my entire life, and Halo is close to my heart and will always be close to my heart. And I absolutely love what they're doing here. And yeah, very excited for Halo Infinite. And going back through this, like, it just invokes everything that is great about Halo. This entire blog post is absolutely phenomenal, and it just gives me that feeling of back in 2001, like what it feels like to love this franchise. I've loved this franchise for so long, and it's so close to my heart, and I love it so much, and I cannot wait till fall 2021. Halo Infinite is 343's Halo 3. Yeah. And could it launch on Halo CE's 20-year anniversary? Maybe, or close to that. November 15th, 2021 is the 20-year anniversary for Halo CE, which falls on a Monday. So kind of a weird release day for a game, but I don't know, exciting no less. So thank you guys for sticking around for this video. I know it was a long one, but I appreciate it. And just remember, Halo Infinite is 343's Halo 3. See you guys next time.